Welcome to the PitchVision Academy Cricket Show, your guide, of course, to better cricket. It doesn't matter who you are or where you are, we are here to help you out for a little while, give you a little bit of advice and point you in the right direction when it comes to your cricket or the cricket of the people that you coach. My name is David Hinchliffe. I look after things, and helping me to help you are two very fine cricket coaches. The first is the Director of Cricket at Millfield School. It's Mark Garaway. Hello, Gareth. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. All good.
Excellent news. Not on the holiday at the moment, having a break from Millfield?
Yeah, we've got a few days off. We had a brilliant 2020 Coloured Clothing Festival on Saturday,
Yeah.
and then we've got Star of India, or Star India, the television company, coming down to play us on Friday, who are over here for the ICC Champions Trophy, all their production team and commentators. So yeah, we've got a bit of a mix of staff and pupils playing against them, which will be awesome.
Yeah, that's bound to be a lot of fun. Secondly, it's the head of cricket performance at Portsmouth Grammar School. It's Sam Lavery. Lavers, you're on the road.
I am on the road, yeah. I'm actually heading north up to the Lake District, which, if the weather's good, will be lovely. But yeah, heading up there, I've got my brother's wedding to go along to, so looking forward to that, and just getting through the 5 or 6 hour drive in the meantime.
Well, hopefully we'll keep you on the line for the whole show, but if we lose you at some point, we'll try and soldier on without you. Right, let's answer some questions that have been sent in by listeners to the show, or maybe readers to the PitchVision Academy website over at pitchvision.com. And how it works is we pick out a couple of questions that we like, we do our best to answer them, and whether we answer them well or not, we do give away a prize at the end for the best question, which is an online coaching course from PitchVision Academy at pitchvision.com. You can email questions for future shows into us by emailing coach@pitchvision.com or get us through social media, which we'll tell you about towards the end of the show. And the first person who got in contact with us this week is Harry. And Harry says, I've played 7 games and I've got 100, but I've also got 3 ducks and some low scores. Everyone keeps telling me I'm just getting good balls, but I'm worried there's something wrong with my technique because I've been caught in the slips 4 times now. How can I find out if I need to change something?
Well, there's a chance that there is. I mean, as somebody who used to get it to slip quite regularly, the easy thing is for us to go, oh no, we keep getting good balls. And the bottom line is that they're not good balls, all of them. They can't all be. Otherwise, we're possibly the most unluckiest player in the history of the world. Certainly with myself, I had a slight technical issue. I say slight, it was pretty glaring, I should imagine, to most bowlers. But I used to follow the ball, and it could be that you're following the ball at the moment. But in order to find that out, you're going to have been playing cricket with a lot of guys, consistent guys, over the course of those 4 dismissals, and it would be worth canvassing some opinion from the sidelines to see if they feel that there's a consistency or a technical point that is holding you back. So I think we're not particularly good at using teammates, and if we're playing with the same people week in, week out, or even twice weekly, then they build up a really good picture of what you're doing, and they often spot something earlier than maybe you do in your game. So other than having video footage that you can review and go back, use their eyes as your camera, and that will give you an insight into whether there's something worth looking at. But once they've done that, they'll probably be able to give you a couple of ideas, or you'll be able to formulate your own ideas of how you're going to counteract it. But I would say, four balls going to slip, it's worth looking at. I think you'd be silly not to turn that stone over and have a look on the other side, particularly as you are capable of scoring hundreds as you have already this year.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice, Gareth. It's kind of a double-edged sword asking for advice from teammates in that, yes, they can give you information that you haven't spotted, and that can be useful, but it can also be presented in a way that is quite difficult for you to do anything about. If someone says, if you say to your teammate, what do you think is going wrong there? Say, oh yeah, you're squaring up all the time. Bye. That's it doesn't give you a lot of help. So I guess you have to be ready to take that information and do something with it rather than see it as the gospel truth. Because as soon as you start, just start seeing the flaws and thinking, how do I get out of this? Then it might just put you into a fatal spin. Then, mightn't it? You might just end up thinking, well, what can I do about this? You know, I know I've got this flaw. I can't get rid of it. I'm just going to have to accept that I'm going to score the odd 100, and then you know, just do my best with the ducks in the meantime. So, and you don't want to be there. So, it's always how you deal with the information on top of getting that information in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crucial, isn't it? That you go to the right people, the people that you respect. And say, for example, you've got a seamer who's played for a long time, that really knows the game inside out and knows how to get people out and has been getting people out for ages. Then why not ask him? You know, equally, if you've got somebody who generally loves the opportunity to get stuck into any of his teammates, then he might not be the right person to go to initially. But I think it's a valuable thing, and if you've got a good environment, if you've got some good people around you, then you'd be silly not to explore that. And as you say, you've nicked a few to slip, and they've caught them, which is a great effort in most forms of a game, because slip catches are never easy. Then you know, it's probably something to have a look at, I reckon.
Yeah, and one of the things you've got to be really careful of is the phrase, well, I just got a good ball there. Because as you said, Gareth, it can be true, and it also can be an excuse. So you've got to be really careful about defaulting to that and then sort of trying to ignore the problem if there is a problem there in the first place. So it's one of those where often you can pick an excuse out a mile away, can't you? Someone can say, oh, you know, well, I was feeling a bit tired today, or, you know, I had the wrong breakfast, or, you know, the bowler was wearing different coloured sweatbands. You know, you can spot an excuse a mile away, but I think I just got a good ball takes a bit more analysis than either accepting it at face value or saying, oh well, that's just another one of your silly excuses. You know, get back in the net.
It is. I mean, it's the difference between coaching and playing, isn't it? Really, because you're totally subjective as a player most of the time. And certainly in my own career, I didn't look at it well enough around my technical issue, which really held me back. And then equally, even coaching at international level, certain players would come up to you and come out with that line of, oh, you know, that's a pretty good ball, isn't it? Looking for that clarity. And in certain cases, you know, when there's a consistency around the way that the dismissal is there, I used to turn my language and say, well, you know, that's exactly where I'd ask my bowlers to bowl at you if I was in the opposition camp. So obviously your job is to come up with a strategy to be able to deal with that, or a technique to be able to deal with that. So I'd often try and turn that around, which is easily done as a coach, I think, but not so easily done as a player. However, the best players that I've worked with are often the ones that ask that question of themselves first.
And some people sort of use it to reassure themselves, don't they? And say, oh, I am still a good player. You know, it's not, you know, I suddenly haven't lost it because I've nicked off a couple of times. So there's that ego element to bear in mind as well, almost, isn't there? Of saying, well, you know, if there's a problem which is vast, then how do you even start to approach that? Or do you just sort of do damage limitation and say, yes, mate, it was a good ball, but how are you going to deal with it next time?
Yeah, and I suppose you're going to know more about yourself than anybody else. And I would suggest that you're probably not just going to go down that route because you've asked the question of us. So my suggestion for the player here is that you've asked the question, so you obviously think that there could be something in there. And well done for asking that question, because there's a bit of honesty, I should imagine. Whereas you find other players, and we had one in our changing room at Hampshire who was brilliant at finding any other reason other than himself for why he was out. And that was purely to maintain that level of confidence. And to be fair, he was an excellent player. I mean, he was one of the best in the country. So, you know, who am I to say that type of attribution is ineffectual? But what I would say is that through experience, that you find one or two of those people around in your lifetime who do that and make the most of, always blaming somebody else. And I used to call it the John McEnroe mentality, you know, where it was always the line judge or the ball boy or the birds flying overhead or whatever whenever he made a mistake. And this guy and a couple of others, apparently Sir Ian Botham, if I'm told by his teammates, was very good at doing that as well. And you know, but they're few and far between, and you're certainly not one of those because you've asked the question in the first place. So use your teammates, get a view, and make sure you ask the right ones, and then take on whatever they say and see if you can do something about it. But those hundreds will be around the corner again. You've obviously got the capacity to do it, so because you've done it recently. And if you can get beyond this little technical area that needs some work, then you know they're going to fly in again.
And just as a little aside on those people, I have a small theory of my own about that, which is those people who do use excuses are few and far between, because generally it doesn't work. What generally does work is learning from your mistakes. And the people who are good at making excuses, at defending their confidence, are normally at a level where they're pretty good anyway. And then they don't really, like, they can develop further, but they don't ever feel the need to develop further because they know they can do it at where they are. And that's where those people who are pretty good can use excuses, and it doesn't matter so much to them. But for most of us, the people who need to develop in some way or another, which is, you know, the vast majority of people, then the worst thing you can do is use those excuses to defend your ego, because you're not ever going to improve if you do that, and if you don't improve, you'll never get to a consistent level. Next question is from Sam. Not our Sam, although he has vanished. Unfortunately, his connection has not been good enough for us. Another Sam, and Sam says, which is one I'm quite interested in at the moment, actually, Gareth, to hear from you about. What are the best tactics for bowling bouncers? And I'll tell you, I'll just give you a quick side note before you answer that question, which is I've seen more bouncers bowled this year by our first team than probably I have in first team cricket, club cricket, in the last 5 years put together. It's really been a barrage this season, and I'm not sure whether it's just because we've got some quicker bowlers or whether there's some kind of a trend afoot. But anyway, bowling bouncers. Yeah,
well, I think to start off with, you've got to probably give yourself a bit of a chance, I would say, because it's like any delivery, isn't it, that you've never tried before. If you've not been used to it and you feel that you've got enough pace or strength or whatever the case may be in order to get it high enough and make it penetrative enough, then you probably need to give yourself a chance of being successful by setting a field, so which sort of corresponds with that ball. And whilst that might telegraph it a little bit, there's very few players, but very few players that really enjoyed the ball flying around their ears too much. So I would give yourself some cover. I'd have deep square leg, I'd have a deep fine leg, those two out in particular, and give yourself the opportunity of getting it wrong but not going for four, or getting it wrong and getting a wicket, which we see a lot, don't we, you know, in all forms of a game, particularly when there's a bit of bounce around. I was watching a highlights game from about 10 years ago on the box the other day, and Mohammed Kaif did exactly that. There was two guys bowling at either end, and they just bumped him, and he ended up flapping one over the keeper and then whacking one to deep square leg, and I'd call neither of those two bumpers absolutely on the money and world class. So even the guys in one-day international test cricket give themselves a bit of cover to bowl it, but certainly at the start of your career of bowling bouncers, I'd give yourself a chance. That'd be my first thing. And often when you've got that field in place, it allows you to really commit into the ball, knowing that you've got that cover. And that's the other thing that I think is brilliant about a well bowled bouncer, is that intent and commitment to hammer the ball into the part of the pitch that you're looking to hit is always there, whereas sometimes you face bumpers that haven't quite got that intent around them, and they're the ones that you tend to be able to swap in front of the square quite comfortably. So to me, it's having the cover, making sure that the field is there to support the delivery, and then committing everything you've got into it.
Yeah, and going back a step on that, I would say also that you've got to think about if the bouncer is an option for you in the first place. And it's probably an option for more people than possibly think it is. Certainly in club cricket, I see people slightly reluctant to bowl a bouncer, even though I know they could do it if they have the intent and they have the pitch. They can get the ball, to hurry the batsman up around, the shoulders, the throat, the face, the head, that getting the ball into that area and hurrying the batsman. That's really what a bouncer is, isn't it? It doesn't have to be coming at someone at 90 miles an hour to be a bouncer. It just has to be fast enough to rush them and make them unsure of what they're doing, and then you put the pressure on them to try and get it, past the field that you've set. So I feel like it's a useful skill to practice, to have, but as long as you get the pitches right, because I don't know, well, this year, again, we talked about it last year, but this year the pitches have been good enough that you can bowl bouncers, and it hasn't been troublesome. And we've certainly, my team have got plenty of wickets through either bouncers or the old double cross, setting the deep square and the deep fine leg and then bowling a Yorker.
Yeah, well, you've got that one, haven't you? You've got to set a field up, get the batter thinking about only the bouncer, and then chucking something different. And whilst that's probably a 200-year-old strategy, it's still a goodie, eh? In the same way as two short ones and a full one. They might be really basic, but it doesn't mean to say that they don't work. But no, I'm with you, mate. I think that variation ball is really important to have, and I've actually played cricket with some quite strong spin bowlers that have had one in the locker as well, and end up getting the ball up high enough at that deep square leg fielder that's maybe behind square ready for that sweep shot, actually comes into play as a catcher off a short ball. I would know when it was coming as a wicketkeeper and would be ready to take the ball above a hook or try and take a glance or a ramp shot or whatever the case may be. But it might have been telegraphed, but you still got to play, haven't you?
It's also great fun to be involved in, I think, because you've got the wrist, the guy can connect with it and send it sailing over the boundary. You could put it down someone's throat. It could be the double cross, and you've got a short mid wicket or a short leg in there. It's something that doesn't happen that often, but when it's done, it is always interesting, and of course I love that.
The game goes forward. I mean, going back to it, sometimes, as you say, it doesn't need to be a brilliant bouncer either. And I played a game long time ago on a cricket tour with Ventnor, and we played against this big bloke who, every time the ball was pitched up, just smashed it. And he was dangerous, he was never looking to run between the wickets too much. And this was, I think it was at Ascot Cricket Club, and the wicket was so slow, it was frightening, absolutely frightening. So my captain on the day put a deep square leg in and a deep cow in, and then I just ran up and bowled a short ball at him, and the bloke obviously was looking to come forward, and it went up to chest height, and he swiveled on it badly, lobbed it up in the air, and we got a wicket. And I think I probably could have been trying to pitch it up and swing him out or get him to nick off all day, and he wouldn't have done so, and I'd have gone for plenty. But it certainly saved my figures that day in allowing me to bowl a different ball with that cover of the field, and it might have looked a bit weird when we set that field in the first place, but it got the net result.
So as long as you can, what you're saying there, Gareth, is as long as you can get the ball, up to the right height, then you can bowl a bouncer on anything.
Yeah, I mean, this one, if it had hit him, it would have hit him underneath it'd have probably hit him in the chest. Right. Certainly wouldn't have hit him in the head. But on other pitches, obviously, you get more bounce and you probably bowl it more often. But it certainly saved me some runs because I was going the distance up until that point. And
I know you've got a slippery bouncer, Gareth. I've heard the rumours.
I had.
You still have. I've seen you with that sidearm.
Yeah, exactly. I now have to have an extension on the arm to get any pace up. But hey, those pink ones don't half go, don't they? I've caused merry havoc with those bad boys.
Oh yeah, yep. Right, let's wrap it up before we get into sidearm chat. We're here all day, and that is all we've got time for on the show this week. Before we leave, there's one more thing we need to do, and that is decide on the winner of this week's competition. 2 questions, And the prize up for grabs is the online coaching course from PitchVision Academy at pitchvision.com. Harry's question was about assessing whether there's something wrong with his technique from his form, and Sam's question was about bowling bouncers. Which one did you prefer this week, Gareth?
I like the honesty in the first one, actually. I just thought often players don't talk about things honestly, but there's obviously a concern there, and I think it's great to ask the question, can I get better? Is it something I'm doing wrong? And you want to be able to eliminate that, even if there isn't anything and you're just getting jaffers all the time. You want to be able to eliminate that, but you can only do that through asking an honest question. So I really appreciate that, and that one is the winner.
There's rarely an answer to the question, can I get better? It's rarely the answer is no, is it? So it's just finding out what it is. Well, congratulations to you, Harry. And Gareth, if someone was listening to the show and wanted their question answered and have that chance of winning the prize, how could they get in touch with us?
They could give us a call on 0203 239 7543 or drop us an email on coach@pitchvision.com.
That's correct. You can also get us through social media. PitchVision has its own social media system, messaging system, and you can also get bonus content from the podcast over at pitchvision.com. So make sure you check that out. You can also find us on other platforms. Facebook.com/PitchVision Academy is our Facebook page, and @PitchVision Acad is our Twitter. You can listen to the show every week as well. That's over at pitchvision.com, or you can do a search for us in your favourite podcasting app. Find us in there. Do a search by tapping on search and searching for PitchVision Academy, and then tap on the subscribe button to get us every week. And don't forget that bonus content, which is available only exclusively on pitchvision.com. And speaking of pitchvision.com, you can get all the old show notes, all the old shows, and lots of exciting articles and stuff at pitchvision.com/academy. Click on the podcast link for all the details there. That's all for this week. We hope you listen next week, but until then, have a good week. Cheers, Gareth, and cheers, Lavers, wherever you are.
Good luck, Lavers.